This is a 2001 379 Peterbilt long nose, as you can see. Make a lot of noise, Bob. Anyway, customer states, truck was purchased and it had lean to it and it's got some vibrations and stuff. Can you check it out? So we went ahead and gauged it out. Turns out it's twisted. So, truck has a C15 cat in it. There is no emission controls on this model, as you can tell. We don't need those. Do we, Bob? Nope. All right. But before we get started, fun fact, the 379 model Peterbilt was actually created in 1986 when it first rolled off the line. And this is one of the very few trucks that Peterbilt actually marketed for having a large BBC.
What?
I know what you're thinking. That's not what it means. It means from bumper to back of cab. Now these trucks came with 119 inch from bumper back to cab measurement to 127 inch, which was the long nose bumper back of cab measurement. Now these trucks ran all the way from 1986 to 2007. And these are really popular trucks and they hold their value exceptionally compared to other trucks. The only other truck that really holds its value equivalent to the 379 Peterbilt is the W900 Kenworth. Well, that's enough information. Let's go ahead and get out of here and get started on this. One thing about this truck that I was really impressed with was the fact that it had brand new cab bushings in it. Great deal of brand new. Cab is leaning that way, and the frame is down on this corner, which kind of gives an indication that it is twisted. Got a little damage here on the fender right there, but for the most part, it's a pretty good looking truck, as you can tell. So, let's go. Y'all thought I was... Peterbilt did not think this through very well. As if you look at the angle of this shackle here, and the distance between the frame and the spring here in the front, and you come look at the angle of this shackle here, you can tell that there's more weight, and as you can see the distance between the frame and the stop there's more weight on this side of the vehicle. And we'll put another gauge right here. I guess, I don't know. Semi-straight. Semi-straight. Crack myself up with all these jokes, man. You can tell this one's fairly long. That's what she said. This truck is obviously really high off the ground compared to most of the ones I've worked on before, so this does help out just a little bit, you know what I mean? Alright, ooh look, a leaning bag. Who likes it? Like your mom likes it. You see that? Bam. Well, there's the twist. Also, one of the things that Peterbilt did back in 2001 was they pretty much made all the skin and everything out of aluminum. Yeah, they were ahead of Ford long before Ford thought that up, huh? So from the front, you can get a better view of actually what the gauges are doing, especially in the back. You see how those gauges are way off back there. Put a pusher right here. We're gonna put a chain right here, and we're gonna put a pusher on the other side. Also on that side, we're gonna put a chain. And we can't forget the motor mount bolts because we don't want to bust the bell housing. Yeah, we don't want to bust the bell housing. And then all we have left to do is twist it. I haven't worked on this frame rack in a while and twisted a truck in a couple of weeks, so this is going to be, I'm going to be sore after this one for sure. One thing that I do like about these old trucks is they don't have a bunch of crap running down the top of the freaking frame rail. So we get to use the bigger chains. As I put on my knee pads over here, I want to thank everybody who's been supporting my shop and everything with all my shirts and all that stuff. I got a couple of new shirts over there as well, but thanks everyone who's gone over there. I've got a lot more stuff coming. I really appreciate all your support. Thank you guys. And I got a big raffle coming up, so hey, keep an eye out. Later. Alright, so I got a lot of questions about this frame rack, and you know what? It's a Beeline frame rack, and it was made in 1974, which was long before I was an itch in my daddy's pants for sure. Another thing about this frame rack is Beeline wanted to design a frame rack that came in from underneath so that it was less invasive on the truck and less parts had to be removed in order to put the equipment under the truck. Now this rack is still made today, not in this configuration, slightly different, but for the most part they still have the same style rack. It just lays flat on the floor and did away with the ramps and things like that, but you can still get parts for this rack today. I've also been asked several times if any of this stuff is homemade, and no, it's not. Even though that most of this equipment is designed to go from underneath, you still have to remove things here and there, but you don't have to remove as much. And so that way it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg in order to get the equipment in, like most other frame racks. And as usual, I walk around like a chicken with my head cut off looking for stuff. And also, these cylinders are 25-ton cylinders. I do wish they were a little bigger, you know, for some of the double rails, but it is what it is. Sometimes I have to walk around this thing like 4 times before I can find my stuff, you know. Misplaced stuff all the time. It's weird. You know, I know I had it like last week, but now all of a sudden it's gone. We gotta put these on top here, on top of the chain. Bars work pretty good for this. And we want this to be as tight as possible. We're gonna leave that alone. Like so. Get that lined up like your mom on Saturday night. Remember I made a comment on here about eating some bad food at a Mexican restaurant or something, and some Yankee told me I had a weak stomach. Wow. Almost lost my southern record over that one. Too bad anybody up north of I-10 don't even know how to cook Mexican food. Let's talk about these frame hooks. These frame hooks are designed to hook the bottom of the frame rail, and I've had them come off before, so I only use them when absolutely necessary. And I get a lot of flack for it too. If you want to get all the slack out you can get out. Hey, it's my birthday today. Got nothing planned other than just, you know, hanging out. The customer did ask me to make a video about this truck. Of course, I'm not going to disclose who that customer is because I still think that, you know, he should have his privacy. But I believe that this truck was laid over like this because it seems to me it's a rock bucket and it probably got laid over at one time in its life. And we got her hooked up right here. And we got the old school pump right there. But there's one thing we forgot. We need to take those 2 bolts out right there. And I'm guessing they've already been changed because they look fairly new. Now, the reason why we do this is that we don't want to crack any housing or anything. It makes it move, gives it a little more movement, you know. Goes. So with with those 2 bolts out right there, this thing's going to slide back and forth. It'll have a lot of shear strength. This way you take them out. Otherwise, you'll put all that stress right here on your bell housing around the mount here or across the top. All right, so there's only one thing left now to do, and that is to twist it. So let's keep twisting. One of the biggest questions that I get all the time is, how do you know how far to go? After several years of being taught by a man who has 45 years straightening frames, you have to realize that these frames are extremely flexible. So you take it up to a point to where you think it's pretty close, by an estimated professional guess, and then you let off and you check the gauges and you drive it around and you bring it back. But you mark your equipment and you don't change anything. So if it's not right, go a little bit further. All right, so now we take everything off and shake it down. Okay, my phone died, and we got everything reset up now. So what we're going to do is move everything to the front here, as you can see here, very back, as you can see right here. Here we go. We're going to twist it pretty hard this time because it didn't really do anything last time. Yes, 4 hours later. Okay, so one of the biggest things that's happened is all the air is now out of the truck. So we have to pull the pins, let the machine down, and start the truck and let it air back up. So that way we can get an accurate reading. And just as if this was my wife sitting here, I look at the back end of this thing for hours and think, looks pretty good. Okay, so after looking at the gauges and everything, you can tell that we're past just slightly. And this is probably one of the most frustrating parts of the job, is having to take everything off of this, removing all of the equipment, and lowering the machine, and then taking the truck down the road to drive it around, because when you come back, you hope that it's back, because it will spring back some, but you hope that it's right. Sometimes it's not always right though, that's the problem. So we have to bring it back up here, put the gauges back on it. If it's not right, then we reassemble all the equipment and do it again. So it is extremely frustrating, and it's not one of those things where you're going to be waiting on this to get done. Okay, this is a several-day process, depending on how it goes. I also get asked a lot of questions about metal fatigue and things like that. Now, you can straighten a truck multiple times. I've done it, and it's unlikely to have severe metal fatigue unless it gets bent to where it's compromised the rail to the point to where it is either torn or it has created a lot of stress to the point where it started cracking. Also, to answer a few other questions, one of the questions that I get all the time is which is the best frame. To be honest, it all depends on the manufacturer and the day the frame's made and everything else, because I have seen trucks from the same year model, one be extremely hard to straighten for the same condition and one completely easy to straighten for the same condition. Now, most of the newer trucks are a lot more consistent with straightening the frame rails. The frame rails seem a lot more consistent when you're straightening them, as in flex and things like that, and how far they spring back and forth. Some of the older ones seem like it's hit and miss depending on how old they are in the manufacturer. When you know you're gaining too much weight when the hood can't pick you up off the ground anymore. I gotta jump to get it started. There we go. But if you've ever owned one of these old Peterbilts, you know these hoods don't line up worth a crap at all if the bushings are worn out. Hood bushings and all that stuff make this process a whole lot easier. These old Peterbilts, though, a lot of people don't realize that most of the time it is the bushings throughout the truck that need to be replaced quite often. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and get this thing, it's pretty much leveled out some, and we're going to go ahead and throw the gauges on here. I'll show you what the level after we got everything shook down of what it looks like. Get Bob here, let's go. So on these trucks, the radiator and everything right here, you see these big giant frame brackets that are on here, the spring hangers, and then your radiator. So it's really hard to put any type of level on. So you have to go right here on the frame. We just run that right on through there. It's like it was made for it. It looks pretty darn level to me. In front and the back. Bam! You can't beat that with a baseball bat on Drunk Friday night. Look at those center lines. Perfect. And there we go. Look at that. Perfect. And your center line. Beautiful. So as you can see here, our truck is pretty much darn near, I mean, it's just perfectly level right there all the way around. But there's an old saying, you know, most truck drivers don't die, they just go get a new Peterbilt. All right, so now the next thing we have to do is we're gonna do a 3-axle alignment. Why do we do a 3-axle alignment? Well, we just moved everything. The entire frame rails and everything moved. So wherever the suspension was at before, it has changed position. Now, it may not have changed it a whole lot, but we do need to check everything and make sure it's all right back in line, or at least realign it. Hey, I really appreciate everybody making it all the way to the end of the video. If you've made it this far in the video, click on the next video. There should be a video coming up pretty soon about the 3-axle alignment I was talking about in the last video. But I really appreciate everybody watching and all that. Hit that subscribe button, you know. Hey, I'll continue watching. I appreciate all that. I appreciate all your support on my Etsy store and all that. So, hey, thank you guys. And until next time, keep twisted.